but they got upset by YFP already, and that's also based on one of these maps, which is the reason why we're seeing Lotus today. They were so good playing on the attack when they played against what I did earlier in the past. I think that Dex was mentioning it, how good Sherrod could be in terms of like activating lurks of what they could do potentially on the attack side. And the good thing as well is that they get to start off on defense this time around. It's probably a weaker side for them, but there hasn't been that many rounds played there yet. So it gives a chance right now for YFP to still come up with a surprise here on deep.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Sherrod's chamber, especially when they don't want to have a hard anchor, someone who's stationary. Sherrod can be so fluid around the map and has been a big statistical addition to YFPX, and we'll be playing as a duo with Scary Shark where they can play around the smokes, the paranoia, but SRG on their lurk, Noya's not someone who, well, they have the firepower to take this 1v2 and is going to make contact and disappear away.
Right now, they're still rotating quite well for YFPX. Even for SRG, things went very slowly. Looking at them to finish towards that C site seemed to be a good read, but because there was only one player playing on top there, but finally Corrupt comes in for the rotate. Now they're able to stall even more.
Ooh, paranoia seems solid from SRG, but as soon as you took a peek, Sarah's head was found, and YFPX have the first blood. And just knowing that SRG would still want to push that 4v5, YFPX going to go for the retake. Now you kind of have these fakes. You have the door opening, and YFPX just waiting to see what the hit's going to be. With Scary Shark still on B, though, they know that's not going to be the hit yet.
Yeah, they don't need to. They never rode that trip on the B side on the attack, so on defense, you can just stick around the back C site.
Hey, another pick. Now SRG more comfortable, safer to plant, getting behind cover, and it's Alexis that finds the shot. Now it's a bloodbath, and Sherrod already gets 3 before being put to bed. 1v1 to decide this pistol. Scary Shark, Noya backing away. Now the spike gets tapped. Noya knows. Now on the high ground, back corner, keeping things quiet, keeping the aim steady. But Scary Shark lurks and keeps the defuse in YFPX's favor.
And there's always something about Scary Shark on this map too, because I remember that one time she kind of subbed in a couple of seasons ago for EG and was owning as a Guardian, and I think this is a map of Lotus that's also her playground. Overall though, like I said, you're trying to create some rotates when you were kind of stalled on the C site here for Shopify Rebellion. But when you're tapping on that door, but that trip never gets broken up, it's very hard for you to still try to hit that C site. So you just have to be pristine, on the shots, which it did at least. And if you're looking at it from the second round, though, they're not going for a stinger by after the plat, so you want to play most comfortably. Look at Donut, even just classic only. I wonder if you want to try to go for an attack side op to fight against Sherrod.
Oh, and Zoriental not going to go for the early nade. No early pressure, if anything. Wants an early exit. Knowing the numbers, hearing what's up, and you already have Scary Shark taking damage, so I like that YFPX are going to award this some space so you can have reinforcements rotate in, and then they can start to take the perimeter around SRG's path.
Keep an eye on the YFP reaction on how SRG is working around that map. I mean, first off, yes, Sherrod already in his fourth position, which will allow for you to get some easy kills here with the Outlaw. But look at the smokes that are being placed by a Scary Shark so far towards Rubble. Also through the one-way smoke towards that C side, it really blocks all the vision that SRG are trying to take in the early rounds and on their sight hits. And that could be a pain to deal with once they're going into the gun rounds.
SRG are not left with many options now that their spawn has been pushed by the Outlaw, so they try to set their sights forward. We have Sherrod also going for the ace. Very possible to do so. Sarah is able to get a bulldog and has to hold her own on an island looking for a raft, and there is the ace for Sherrod on the anti-eco, and this has just been such an explosive addition to this team coming in for the Swiss stage. And 41% headshot accuracy in the stats. I mean, this person is insane. iBUYPOWER ace for Sherrod.
Yeah, the new look from YFP in this stage is really, really nice. Even if you've missed the match, I would recommend for you watching it against the Wadada matchup last time. Sherrod and also Zoriental have been monumental to the success that they've had on the upset against Wadada on Sunset, which is going to be our second map in this series. So we'll cross that bridge and talk about that once we get there. But look how comfortable you can play here on this chamber. Look how early they push down there towards that C mound because they could just use the TP when needed. And then when they see no pressure, easy to walk down, continue to push forward, block those lanes, and YFP hold a perfect flawless.
Just getting info for Corrupt, though, to get a peek at what's going on with SRG. The Boombot gonna check that close left. Prowler is gonna layer up. SRG take it one step at a time with first blood trade by Corrupt. And that's all you can ask for from a Stinger holding that close, not able to exit. SRG won't have their full numbers, but still an equal match as they look to plant.
Just very nicely played, because now you have Snakebite playing close range, so you have the Stinger that's going to try to mow down some players crossing over, but those that made it across that are still vulnerable could get Ares down by Glowstick, who's most likely going to be playing good old Odin on defense on this map. Now it's up to YFP to go for the retake on a 3v3, but thankfully SRG still has decent positioning on the pulse plant.
No smokes could be hindering Sherrod. You still have Haunt, Prowler from Glowstick, and to take a lot of attention away from Sherrod, and thought the silence was enough, but SRG front and center to protect this plant. Now Glowstick just hopes to summon attention their way, and SRG take their first rifle round.
Being very smart in the positioning for SRG. Nobody really in great position to trade off each other. It was mainly a let's see what we can get. We play the off angle and try to survive off the duel if we miss that one. But the positioning you saw from Noi on the top of the box is watching towards that spawn. Instant headshot, instant kill. Then right over here, Alexis at the bottom. Nobody clears that right side, but she could trust her teammates at least to watch that back because Noya's at that position to be able to watch towards that spawn. And you know damn right that when it's Shopify Rebellion going into the duels, they have the firepower for that, and you have to give them that respect and make sure you're working better in tandem here for YFP in these retake plays.
Oh, it's a lot of B action. Sherrod gonna call that out and disappear. And YFPX have been so good in these early rounds to know where the initial push is and to adapt and take map control around it. That was what was so good about YFPX's anti-eco, at least in that second round. But SRG have plenty of ideas up their sleeve, but now two very critical members missing.
Just beautifully done now. SRG looks like they just want to gamble into the B site. I think at this rate with a minute left, I was going to say it's time for you to just try to save. You can't do any more econ damage. The stack is perfect for YFPX. How the setup was for the beginning of the round was good for them too. They have the turret watch in the C site. Even you have Corrupt playing it passively, and they already had full rubble control, as you could already see Scary Shark picking up this last kill onto Mel. So what does it leave you with? You prowl it towards that front, it gets contact right away, and it's the person that's going to break that prowler, the fade, so that the chamber could come in for that tap. So right over here, beautifully done here for that to be done for Sherrod to get that pick. And actually, the prowler never got shot. They're just in a position that could just TP away to safety and just basically half tank the prowler coming towards you. So SRG now have to be a little bit more heads up here when they're trying to clear these corners. They can't only trust on these prowlers on the side of Sarah.
RPX have had good timing, yeah, knowing that util could be coming out. Now SRG just have to be more aware, but that Haunt is gonna at least ping one from SRG. But because of this Noya wall, you can kind of creep up, take that space for free, where YFPX have to make the decision whether they want to reveal themselves shooting through that or not. And so far, YFPX are very quiet.
They're so nice, though. I love how they're moving around. Look at how the door opens, and you already have Sherrod watching that front B. Then everybody gets stacked towards this A site. It's a 1-for-1, and looks like SRG are trying to find an opening, but pivoting back towards B. We're already two players rotated on the defensive side.
Scary Shark tries to get ahead of the game with the paranoia out and working alongside Sherrod. While the rest of YFPX watch their spawn. They don't know if SRG have fallen back towards A, and the answer is there. And blood is on the floor, but SRG recovered the spike. Now you hear the steps at the top. The boom bot just trying to hide away. If you don't need to shoot it. You don't need to. And the Viper's Pit will seal up the site. But if anything, SRG are gonna leave and force YFPX to have to explore through that, and that's a good time waster.
Yeah, it's a great delay. That gives a chance as well for Noya to rotate across, and Mel just has to stay alive here. They're both playing towards that Mel, watching that cross, and thankfully, no smokes for that cross for the defensive side for the retake.
Spike gets tapped. Need to see some action, and SRG just line it up, and it's a thrifty of all things, and it's just throwing out fakes and always going up to backup plans, and how SRG never hesitate on these decisions. And you call upon the leadership of Mel, who not only studies the game so much and prepares her team the best that she can, but knows so much about her opponent as well.
Yeah, and that's also with the coaching staff that you have around there, with Effie's being the head coach of the team for such a long time, and Veer most recently joining this team from Challengers. having a chance right now to work and learn alongside Effie's and the best team that we currently have in Game Changers. And now you're seeing that the macro's working out. Showstopper out on the attack, and it connects off the glow stick.
Yeah, good find. SRG knowing YFPX like to hold that left side, and they cower away when the Noya wall comes up, and SRG, they're knocking at the door, and they want a battle. They're not going to get it anymore. And despite just such early energy from Dodonut, SRG were more victims in that fight.
Look at them group up. It'll be smart right now for them to scale exactly how Noya's been doing so they could flash to the corner. Because as soon as you walk in, this is a free kill for Sherrod. They have to expect it because you've never placed position and any type of players at the very beginning in the front of the C site. And there you go, beautifully done. Flash, orb comes down. Oh no, still stays.
Sherrod played that perfectly, just such under pressure. SRG adapting to, like you said, Sherrod taking a more forward position when the right side of the map gets pushed. Still gets away with the one, and Sherrod lives. Now that door opening, not gonna fall for those tricks. Not with Zoriental watching over B, so the hit is still decided for SRG, and YPX may even think pushing, or they're just gonna stay within that smoke. I thought Corrupt was cooking something, but with the judge, nah, just gonna be dwelling in the smoke.
Yeah, and that's the way you play it. Even if Corrupt dies, there's still two more players to support them inside the C site. SRG definitely going on that save. I mean, the idea, as we mentioned before, was perfect for them to scale back into the C site, but it's the execution that was lacking a bit. Because that flash 100% comes into contact for Sherrod, so you call that audible for SRG, but there's no double swing outside of the smoke. We walked out one by one. It almost feels like maybe, I don't know if it was the hue that I saw of what came out from Noya when she's walking out of the poison orb, but she kind of looked like a little bit blind out of that one. Nonetheless, you didn't have that buddy system to really overtake that C site, and that stops everything right away. And I think it just makes sense for you to call the timeout now for FEs, because if you're looking at the state of the game of how YFP are currently setting up their defense, is they are not afraid to continue to move forward and take space when they're not being pressured at the beginning of these rounds for SRG. If you're looking at it from the C side, the amount of times that Sherrod's been moving out here with the Outlaw, with the Op, and covering that lane, that allows more players to stack up on the A side, and then it becomes just an aim duel of who shoots better, which allows SRG to get that round number 5 in the previously, because they're just able to shoot back. But now, macro-wise, SRG needs to find better ways to really push this Opper out of that line and keep them back so you could actually manipulate the map a little bit more, allows for you to manipulate the rotations a little bit more, and have better entries towards the sites.
Like you said, SRG know that Sherrod has been the threat and how you can clear them out, and as soon as you push one part of the map, Sherrod and the rest of YFPX will take over the rest. So is this going to be SRG deciding on how they want to diversify and even divide their forces, or is this going to be find where Sherrod is, try to pressure them, but you got to know that Sherrod's bringing the op into this round. You never removed it from the previous, so that is a threat that remains in this round, and SRG have to decide how they want to address it.
Yeah, well, when Athena was mentioned at Death, the strength right now for SRG in this comp is the power of the lurks of Noya and Alexis, which is why, again, if you're able to force the Opper back and then you manipulate the map a bit, that's where your flankers and your lurkers could activate. So far, you kick things off with a 5-player hit for SRG on the A side, though, and nobody's going to be pulling back. So you're just going to wait this out and probably go for a late hit back into the A site. Maybe just not even a committal towards B, because now you're playing into the unknown if you're going to try to go in that direction. Has to be a double ult thing to get into A site now.
Yeah, it could just be a front hit off the Nightfall here from Sarah, and so it'll be. YFPX now going to get pinged on the site, and SRG going to send through over in tree, but now someone has to cross through in front of this small door. That's where YFPX have liked to have those cutoffs, and so Oriental is good for their one, and now it's a scrap through on the site. Glow stick trying to anchor as best as they can, and all the pins line up. Usually these double swings from SRG are so clean, they get in each other's way. Noya has a lot to deal with and not enough, well, help coming their way. YPX definitely exploiting those mistakes.
And the thing is when SRG actually ulted into the A site, the tethers did actually ping onto 2 players. But unfortunately, as I mentioned before at the beginning of this game, what could be a thorn in their side of these smokes being thrown out by Scary Shark. So as she throws the smoke towards tree, it even nullifies, and the paranoia she threw also nullifies the Nightfall, so you lose count of how many players are inside that site throughout the chaos, and you totally forgot about Glowstick. and they were just able to pick up an easy 2K. A two-piece on that right side of the site, and SRG cannot commit. At least they have, at least of a silver lining, another ult to work with for a flood into the site. So this half buy, and thankfully, Sherrod just missed that first shot.
Sherrod is going to reposition, and almost clipped Donut. But what a nice nade. That tagged up Sherrod, and still somehow got a shot on the Donut. So SRG will have to go on without it.
That was insane.
Yeah. So insane. Sherrod is, I think, was 13-3 at one point, now 14-4, putting up the numbers, but SRG are putting down the spike, and this could still be turnable. And SRG already pulled off a thrifty before, so don't underestimate what SRG can do on a lower buy. But the ult's in YFPX's favor. You have a Nightfall, you've got the pings, you have the advantage now, YFPX, but the flash is in place for SRG, and YFPX don't care. They poke and prod at range, and SRG can only cower in safety, and all the smokes, but the Prowler goes on even on top of the box. That was pretty nice, and SRG just get dismantled.
The most important fight onto that one was for SRG was Noya needing to win that fight on that flank against Scary Shark. So that gives an opening here for Shopify Rebellion Gold to really fight towards that water and escape back towards main when needed be, because if you're looking at that retake, you're facing up against a Nightfall for the side of the defense, while you, with your 3 players left in the post plan, had no util to work with, and you're going into a half buy. You picked up a NOP on top of that, and it's being smoked out by Scary Shark on that box, so Mel has no value on that C site again to try to pick off some players. I think Dryad was mentioning at the desk too, this should be a map won by YFP just on how good they've been playing this map. And hopefully, chat, now you're watching this game, you're seeing how beautiful their defensive plays are so far, and at least how the macro way and their macro approach to this map is quite nice for YFPX.
Yeah, you had to expect this map if you're SRG, because this was picked by YFPX against Wadada in the semi and against Kiri Magenta in the quarterfinals. So SRG very comfortable on this as well, but lacking behind on the round so far. At least they have a full buy this time, but Mel separated away from the flock. And that's all thanks to Corrupt. Snakebite, Smoke, so good at dividing it. And SRG have to recover this spike, like you said, and very difficult to do when Mel is not there.
Yeah, and your ult's already gone. You can't smoke sight anymore. You have to walk in now for a quad flip in through the smoke.
I know it's going to be an explosive sight, as Oriental couldn't stop the util, but Corrupt could stop too, but SRG still able to make the most out of that deficit, but the op still being within the site is a surprise to Noy and to all of us. It allows YFPX to still take the round.
You have to give some points again. I'm gonna keep hyping up Scary Shark so far, even though if it doesn't look like they're really on that kill feed or whatnot, just the util around the skulls that she's currently doing too is just so nice. And this, I at least love the entry from SRG, how they adapted. No smokes to exec. Well, at least you throw the poison, or Noya kept it in her hands so that at least they could trade out into these sites. But then you have to play against the off of Sherrod, who's been pristine so far, on top of the game this whole half. 15 kills so far on the chamber, and looking to tally up more as they're pushing up for aggressive control into Rubble.
Just always got to expect the unexpected with Sherrod, who's been so much at sea these early peaks, and to be pushing Rubble with an op, it's going to be able to teleport out and have the support of Scary Shark. That's been a duel. The YFPX have moved around the map before, but SRG move into Beam. They're just cut off by all the util and Glowstick, who shuts the door. And SRG just go in blindly and get almost nothing out of it.
Well, this is where, if I'm Effie's and I have to call out a timeout, you have to start ironing out those little things, those 101s. You want to try to get into the B site? Well, you're not playing against a Vice, cool, but you're still playing against a chamber, and you've never really figured out and spotted where that chamber trip has been a lot of these rounds. Like your C exec, it hasn't been there. Your B side lurk, you've heard it once. This time you hit it, you're hit by it. If you want to try to hit that B site, man, just have Donut throw some paint shells, something, break that so you could actually explode into the site. You're already making so much noise trying to go for the execute, might as well just make sure that you get rid of the util on top of that. But so far, it's SRG with a very slow start on their attack side. As we mentioned when we got into this game, this should have been a harder side here for YFP to play with to kick off the series.
There.
SRG could still take care of this Viper's Pit, especially with how forward it is and the fact that Donut has a showstopper. Prowler's going to do the initial surge hunt at the very back. doing just that. Mel is going to use the ult to teleport behind the Viper's pit, and the showstopper is just to evict the Viper's pit member, and YFPX won't be able to get much use out of it. SRG be able to jump through the hoops, get through the obstacles, and be safe enough for a plant. They're never able to have the full 5 stack for the plant, but SRG, we'll see if the post plant will still stand with the Viper's pit on the offensive side, blocking off Waterfall, which will be in Corrupt's way.
They have Nightfall too. They're in a good spot here, SRG.
Having to invest a lot. YFPX all spotted, and now the guns have to do all the talking, and YFPX has been so good on these C retakes. Just 1, 2, 3, all down. SRG not able to fight back at these deficits.
Oh man, we're missing a little bit of help. I need some help somewhere. As you saw here, we're trying to move up outside of that pit to look towards that spawn to answer back to the Nightfall, but unfortunately, Noya already lost a teammate inside that pit, returned back in time to really try to stuff those players rushing back from lower site. I mean, look at this. The Nightfall hits. It's already a 5 versus 3, or 5 versus 4, sorry. That Viper should have been watching, Noya should have been watching Donut, actually. That was Donut that's going outside of that pit, and Noya was watching towards that waterfall. But somehow they squeak through, and both of them fall, and the post plant becomes abysmal for SRG. They had everything to be able to at least get that 3rd round. But now it's not the best buy to try to salvage the last round of the half.
So many of the first bloods have gone YFPX's way, and oh, Steve's Oriental is just gonna get shot in the back, and still it's even numbers. And just YFPX, the way they flood into sites is so clinical. They have all their bases covered, and they come in with such pace that even a team as bolstered as SRG can't hold it back.
Look at that. You wanted to pivot really quickly towards the A side, but you're still afraid here of Sherrod with now the Outlaw. So you have to wait for the fuel to come up, Prowlers to try to find some players, and finally, Sherrod gets pushed back, and now finally SRG has a chance to work around the map. We're going into the mid round where they're really good at. They can open this door, fake back into the B site, and play a good post plan where they got their 2nd round of this half from a post plan on B.
Still need to clear into B, but not too worried after how they pulled YFPX towards the right side. Teleport from Scary Shark. It's gonna get spotted.
30 seconds left.
SRG still have to duel against that staircase member, and Scary Shark gets that win, so SRG have multiple angles to have to worry about, including Alexis that could be cut off at any moment from the wall. Have to be in, needs to be in this fight for the flash, and now SRG just stagger in. But the layers, they peel back. YFPX will now enter the site, and now SRG, they just get dismantled and erased yet again. This is a 10-2 half for YFPX.
Yeah, it was a nice try too. The C's was perfect with the flash, but unfortunately the flash was actually too close and tucked into the wall that a couple of them were only half blind for YFP. So being once again very good into how they're trading off with each other for the side of YFPX, and a very dominant first half that we've seen on our defense. And this is where it gets scary, because YFP against Wadada were just very good in this type of setup. If you're looking at the minimap right now, this 4-1 that they constantly do on the attack side, where Sherrod peeks out with Headhunter, baits util, TPs away, you're pressuring towards that C site, you could split towards B as well. There's just a lot of avenues you could utilize with this composition here for YFPX. But now, as I mentioned, how they like to do these 4-1s, looks like for YFP, they just want to make sure that they fight toe-to-toe and could trade off each other once again, as they already have such a strong commanding lead. So might as well try to death ball our way through here this pistol round.
A must-win round for SRG with the 1-2-2 split.
Bring them down.
And SRG are such a cohesive team. It's not about one person being the shining star. This is now a unit. They have to work together like one. SRG just listening, waiting. And now YFPX, the ball is in their court, but the thorns will be the obstacle. The hoop that YFPX have to jump through, the Prowler, the Paranoia. They know exactly where SRG are hiding within this tree area. And Alexis just dodging the nade. YFPX take control not only of the site, but going through the stairs. They're wrapping around. SRG not even aware. They're still trying to clear through the site, realize no one is there. YFPX are ahead of the race, and SRG's defenders on B could only hold them back for so long.
Now there's going to be a lot of question marks for SRG to try to retake that side. Actually, YFP are going all the way back towards C. Now they're losing players in the process. They had an opportunity there to play a post plan in scenarios where SRG don't really know where the positions are at. But now it's YFPX that's going to have to keep on their toes, because there's 3 players of SRG currently flanking on that C mound.
When you have so much time like this, YFPX can take some creative extensions. Never mind, Donut's going to eliminate Scary Shark.
And
now you know where
shells.
the push is coming from. Yeah. Still have the haunt, glow stick, just using it to clear towards B and SRG. Oh, not the nade they were looking for, but Sarah's got the shot that they like, and SRG takes the pistol.
At least we'll have that. The paint shells are just a ruse here to have you listen to audible cues, and then everybody runs through and trade off each other here for SRG. Very nicely done towards the end. Very well salvaged for Shopify Rebellion Gold. A slight overcook, at least for the side of YFP, but I mean, that's on Corrupt to really understand what they could call here, right? They haven't really seen too many players. They've already caught 1 player off guard. They've already forced rotates and players to stick inside tree for SRG on how you execute it into pushing into the stairs. So technically, you know it's an open site on C, but just 1 player was feeling very confident. I think that was Sheridan, as I mentioned before, trying to fight back towards that spawn that got picked off. So now SRG has a little bit of room to breathe. YFPX doing similar things where they're not buying stingers on that second round. They just want to make sure here that they have good econ on the attack side and managing to, min-max the orbs, and that's going to be Glowstick picking it up.
You have a high-low with Mel and Donut. You can try and get see some foreheads on top of this wall. Worst case, you have a paranoia. Heard the drop down, and now there's some activity in YFPX.
Cover going out.
Just get cut at the heel. The spike is down too, so this is going to start pulling SRG towards the left side of the map, and Sherrod is still just at spawn, making sure that there's not a push-up between at B.
I have the spike.
YPX are very limited on what they can do right now.
Toxins going up.
I mean, dropping some players at least, making it expensive. Trying to get a plant down would be kind of good here for YFP at least. Mel's out in the open, and we'll be able to get that kill at least onto Scary Shark, who wasn't watching the right angle. A little bit of room to breathe now for SRG.
Oh, Noya. It's just great team effort from SRG, and Noya, like the desk pointed out, one of the best players on SRG when it comes to the stats and how reliable they are under pressure like that. So SRG convert that round, bring a couple of guns in, and the YFPX are still just that close to the finish line.
And there is what I'm currently seeing is what they're trying to do here for YFPX and what was their bread and butter here. So Sheridan is going to be listening and trying to bait all this util out towards this A site. There's 4 players of SRG there. And as they listen and see all that, they can call it through, and you can stall right away here for the attack side for YFP. The thing is they haven't added too much. They haven't been adding too much players on the C site at the beginning. So if they're planning to do that, it's going to have to be a later reclear with the util that you currently have from Glowstick.
Bring them down.
SRG still working to cover those gaps as they enter B and deny that. They have Thorn set up at C, so SRG get orb and a good early start to the round. But here now the ball is in YPX's court with Prowler in. Still Prowlers and everything they need. Triggering, though, the Vice Wall is going to have YFPX rethinking this, or at least waiting for that to be expired.
Yeah. And that's, again, where they find a lot of success here against Wadadao, who plays a double Senti comp on this map. The more that you're baiting out the util and you're keeping them anchored up into these deep lines on B and C, the more you can work around that map. Look at what happens. You're going to push away Mel here from this position and Sarah. It's going to be very difficult for the others to rotate because they already have to stay inside sight to make sure that they watch that wall that already got procced up and have to watch the C site hit.
And there's pressure here with the shots from SRG, and YPX is still going to test those waters. They're going to swim and even fly through it. Look at Zoriental, man. Insane little satchel. Take Ruins, or Rubble, and now enter B after that clear from Corrupt. So, like this plan from YFPX, this is a dangerous round to drop if you're SRG.
Yeah, well, you're going to just have to go for it. This is your bonus round for SRG too. Try to make it expensive here.
enemy remaining.
Oh, Donut adjusts, and at range is not going to put up a good fight. So Alexis is in a better range position, but the C's, the nade, Alexis right on the edge of it.
Flash placed. Not ready yet.
Now the Flash is trying to bait them into a good fight, and now Alexis is just going to get run over, and that'll put YFPX up to 11. Now another much-needed win coming up for SRG once they buy up, and it's getting pretty dire.
Yep, the game of comebacks now with this standard comp for SRG, most doable, especially on this side with the comp that they currently run. You can already see how much util they have to really fight towards that rubble. But again, as I mentioned, when YFPX are able to manipulate the map like that, and you see this 4-player swing outside of that smoke, the third player that's rotating all the way from the B side is a little bit still too far out to be able to trade out with her teammates. And it gives here a chance for YFP to just brute force their way through here wherever they want around the map. That's a good way to answer back, you know, disrespect the counter smoke with a counter spam.
Yeah. YFPX just came in with so much confidence, and SRG just checked that at the door. Look at the stack towards the breakable door. YPX allowed to grab that orb. Not an immediate strike from SRG, but what timing from Sarah! Ace opportunity! And Spike within grasp of SRG. And YFPX just will not be able to recover this, so how much do you want to give this to Sarah? She's going to pick one side. Donut watches the other. Someone has to be sacrificed for this ace. The Prowler to get corrupt unstabilized. And Sarah just needed to reload. No ace for her. But still a round win for SRG.
The thing too is that Mel was just standing on top of the rubble and trying to let her get that ace, but despite that, I still don't think that's a good play. If you're already looking at it as Sarah getting her 4K into that round, yes, it's cool to boost the ego to get that 5th kill, but you need those ult orbs. Have somebody else hunt down those kills so that you could actually start rotating a little bit more ults on your side to start this comeback game. It would have been smarter already off the get-go if Mel was already going in for that kill, or Donut or somebody else that Sarah uses util for gets that kill. Hopefully it doesn't bite them in the end for the side of SRG. And they're still able to come back in this game. YFP, though, still in prime position and good control. Only a Sheriff, though, in the hands of Corrupt, so that they could buy a weapon for their entry fraggers, and they could just call the audibles here as the IGL.
Yeah, and how early does this Nightfall come out when you hear the door open for Tree early enough, and YFPX knew this was coming and do still get pinged, but are not as trapped as they were. They have space to work with, and even their own wall, and now deciding to pivot after hearing how many of SRG are still around, while keeping, of course, Corrupt around.
And the wall is also towards that C site, so SRG are still in prime position to play stall. So the insert now comes into, again, where YFP finds a lot of success on our attack side. The noise that you make now Corrupt has to hear if they could sense a rotate. If they see other util coming through and close, Prowler towards that front, and now you're adding question marks for SRG. Is it going to finish towards A? Is it going to finish towards C?
30 seconds
Now the
left.
gamble is back towards the A side, and the haunt, though, just pushed Sarah away, so this makes it very difficult for Mel to anchor the A site.
But Sarah can still get in position, get the Prowler and Haunt going, get as much information as they can, while Mel can use the ears and now her own gun, and it's only good for 12 seconds, though. All SRG needs to do is prevent the plants, and it could be easy. Especially with the cutoff from Noya at Staircase. And YFPX had too many problems to address, and SRG will go back-to-back rounds.
You nailed it. Too many to deal with. Too much to deal with for YFPX because there was just too much noise coming from different angles. You already see Sherrod trying to focus and fight towards, I think that was going to be Sarah towards the break room, the breakable door. That gives a chance for Noya to swing out, get an easy 2nd kill, and then also capitalize in on a 3-piece into the round to allow SRG to now pick up 4 rounds into this half. And you're seeing very similar things as, although in different positions here, but SRG are able to find like some nice little off angles that are not going to be checked here by YFP, and those end up being round-winning plays, both from the IGL of Mel from her position in the A site that just has to get her one and done because she was playing that spot solo, and then also just Noya finding her timing and also continuing to build up those numbers that the analyst desk were praising for Noya in this GC scene. So this timeout's finally coming out here for YFP, though. And they still have some ults to work with on the attack side, and it's going to be their decision. Right now is they could work on warp control. Then that'll give them at least 3 ults to work with on top of maybe a stinger buy that could really prove to be the winning game for SRG, because SRG is not going to have the best of buys after that. They'll have to go into like some sort of rifle buying for each other, and in the long game, they're just going to run out of money.
Just kind of judging by the YFPX buys, not going for anything crazy. Definitely think grabbing that ore for Zoriental would be huge, especially if you're worried about the Viper's Pit for Noya, or just depends on how much you want to invest in this round. So, but Sherrod has been the star for YFPX. We'll see what kind of play they can create on the Slurg. They're gonna get so much attention. Whoa, just lightning fast recall right out of there. Calling out the few members. The stack on the right side. The Prowler gets YPX set up on Mound, but they still have to trigger the Vice Wall. So there's some comfort from SRG, and especially off of that pick, just spamming through the smoke blindly. Alexis will still keep things secure for SRG.
That's a great start, because that's the pit down. But the stinger buy is still there. They still have the Nightfall to work with. If they open up this site here, and Alexis is able to anchor it up, though, that's a great stall and a great hold in the end by SRG. And that will foil the plans that you have, at least for what you're trying to cook out for this timeout for YFPX in a half buy. But you still have to think about the next round, where you will have weapons here for YFP.
That's such a risk for Scary Shark to take that teleport when you still hadn't got the wall down, and knowing the Sentinel util that can trip you up. But yeah, this will be SRG trying to create a bit of a win streak. This will be their 3rd in the row, depending on how many bodies Glowstick will leave behind. What was that?
30
No
seconds
way.
left.
One of the newest additions to YFPX, proving their worth. And now with the upgrade, oh, thought Mel would have been at the back of the site. Now round salvaged by SRG, but expensive.
And one of the rare moments that playing uncoordinated for the side of SRG saves in that round, because as Glowstick gets that 3rd pick into the waterfall, and you don't really spot Mel playing in the buddy system, you're expecting that she's rotating towards that spawn, and Mel finds the lucky timing to get the side kill on it to Glowstick. But look at these shots when Glowstick's going to move in, opening that door, trying to clear them out, not looking after each other here too. It's just a little bit of a miscomm on trying to re-clear. But at least thankfully they still have money to work with for SRG, because that was 3 rounds in a row for them. But you can definitely see that they're scratching very close to the bottom of the barrel to try to stay in the game in terms of these rifles.
Wow, what a push from SRG and Dodonut to get that first fade back and take out the lurk from YFPX. So this will force Sherrod to be that person, and for YFPX to re-clear through B and to the opposite side of the map. But SRG have all their pieces, all their pawns in position, so they're comfortable this round.
It was a great start for SRG. It's one of those rare moments that you've walked out in front of the B main, probably the first time you've done it in this half. So it was unaware for the side of YFP, and an easy pick for Dodonut. Now they can play numbers advantage. Solo site A hold, and 3 players holding towards this B site. But you are technically seeing here, as they're playing numbers, they're also giving up a lot of space for YFP.
Now Glowstick has to wait for everyone to be in position before night falling in.
left.
But the Thorns, the Flash, SRG have good delays, and Alexis is gonna proc that and keep themselves still anchored within the site as Zoriental goes fishing with the Showstopper, and it's not gonna pick the lucky side. YFPX will still hunt down Alexis. And now the steps are clear, and YFPX bring the round back in their favor.
Face your fear!
After that early loss, no pit, but still a nightfall for YFPX to play with to build some delay, to keep SRG guessing. And the one play could be Sarah coming up on the flank, needs to sync up. Wow, what a shot from Scary Shark. No Showstopper, no fun, but Sarah's always good for multiple. The numbers are equal, but time is ticking. Important round for YPX. This will get them to match point. Noya being a distraction, being bait, taps the spike, gets the attention. Glowstick, oh, it's gonna stagger in. It just has to shoot Mel one last time. The defuse is gonna be stuck. And no, Glowstick can't do it. But now
time.
there's no time for the defuse. Holy, that was a close round. A Red Bull clutch.
Match point.
You saw that glow stick was scrambling once they pulled up the secondary and saying, oh crap, it's only a Bucky at this range. I will never be able to get it. And thankfully enough, they had time on their side for the side of YFP, which unfortunately here, Noya was forced off that spike to get that pick. Again, I had a little bit of a tisk right there. The satchels and the showstopper coming through, but there's a lack of util to try to clear out towards that pit. I feel that there was we were missing a little bit more. Maybe try to stay a little bit closer to that smoke behind the boxes, time things out as you're satcheling through to at least try to go for a trade if you don't have a flash or a haunt to try to clear out towards that pit. And that kill right there, once again, impact frag by Scary Shark allows your YFPX to put themselves at map point.
And that could be the round that decides it all and definitely breaks the win streak of SRG in a timeout to see how they can execute the next couple rounds. And YFPX just need to not lose their lurk and keep their options open, but still SRG can deny one of those options with an early pit, which I assume is going to be on the menu for Noya, but is Alexis going to want to play for an orb? Get the Steel Garden going.
You almost have to at this point, but also at the same time, it's very dangerous for you to try to come out here towards the C side to pick up orb. Maybe is while you're seeing that Alexis is rotating back to hold at least the B side to start. And then you have the 3-player push down to take Rebel control, which maybe could allow for her to pick up the orb a little bit later on, but YFPX doesn't want to let that happen. You already see Chariot watching across the smoke, and they're looking to fight back here once the smoke dissipates.
Chariot is still inserted, so as soon as the smoke dissipates, if you think SRG are only going to insert one into Rubble, this could be a good 1v1 for Chariot, but more than expected, and Chariot does not miss those teleports. Has not been an early victim in those scenarios, but still is going to be missing HP.
Yeah, they're lucky that Sarah was playing with a Bulldog there to absorb a little bit of those shots and be able to TP on time, because Phantom, with the way that Sarah's been playing on this defensive hold of Rubble, they should have been dropped right away here for Chariot. But here comes a TP inside the side, very similar place to SRG, forces out Noya from the pit, but she's able to walk right back in as the ult cancels up. Now SRG back at the advantage in terms of the state of the game. Clock's still on their side, and they still have great util to stall here towards the C and B site.
Because Alexis minimizes those risks, her being alive in this round, it just keeps things sealed and certain that no one is at B. Now with the flank removed, YFPX have to get through this util one way or another. Now gonna have to go to their last and final option towards the right side, but there's only 12 seconds. So you see Oriental has to be there quick, and SRG had the trap set, and now the spike in their sight. So SRG will get another life, and YFPX will just save.
And Mel finds another great timing on that flank before getting rid of the rate boss. And on top of that, Scary Strike also falling to me, the second rate boss down for YFP. But Sharad dying, not allowing YFPX to really get some sort of walk into the B site for a pick. Now you're scrambling with the time remaining. You couldn't really cancel up that pit on your side because the exec wasn't really there to flush Noya outside of the pit. And you're just running. Thunderfooting back towards the A side makes it easy here for Sarah. And I think it was Noya on the other side here to just hold out. Or sorry, Alexis to hold out towards that A site and push them away. SRG still in this fight for now. Ult available. And our hero rifle for Corrupt. Sees Nate down though.
And Sherrod found a great adaptations once again for SRG to recognize what's happening by YFPX in these early rounds. And I just applauded Sherrod for being so good at getting out of those situations. And one hero rifle. YFPX just praying they can get a post plant so that Corrupt can use that ult, but it'd be really hard to do so.
I'll have to try to play for picks for YFP. Right now, it looks like we're trying to make noise in front of that B site so that Corrupt could try to go for some sort of a look play towards A. Already, the Haunt already came out, so that gives their position away. They're just going to meet up with everybody to go for the Hail Mary into the B side plant.
Oriental spotted just defending themselves, barking back, and Wiz gonna cut noise and try to get the reinforcements. And Donut just shows up, doesn't get the ace, but is explosive as ever. And SRG are not giving up this map, not without a fight.
Now the Econ's back on the side of YFP, though. In very rare moments where they're going for a very much quicker pace hit towards the C site, it seems. There is a couple of pings there. You still have this lurk on the A side from the Viper. But it looks like you will try to leverage Sherrod to move up with the team to take control here of the C side. You mentioned orb control could very much be in the hands of Glowstick so far, which would put them one away from a Nightfall in the post plant.
SRG decided to use an early paranoia and just kind of invest more into that A lobby fight, expecting Sherrod or someone to still be there, but YFPX are not even going to bother this time, just trying to trigger the Sentinel util as fast as possible, and even getting the boom bot out of Donut. So hopefully, you would think YFPX would have an easier job this time. Scary Shark's teleport is punished. YFPX are divided from an initiator at least. And you just go for the Viper's Pit to secure what real estate you have available to you. While SRG, all they can do is watch this plant go down and hope that Sarah's Prowler at least gets them in position for a flank. The Nightfaller pushes SRG back from Waterfall, but there's only one member there, so YPX are still clueless on what could be happening, and it's all on the flank. It's SRG, though, picked apart as YPX step out of the perimeter, and this is for the win, and it's all up to Mel to stop it. And now the security of YFPX within their fortress, their castle. This is their map pick, and this is their playground. YFPX kick off our series.
And YFPX were able to win that round with what they're